It's summertime, but Ryuji, your average high school student, is forced to go to summer school. Once there, he is taken away by his second cousin Ariko, who quickly enlists him in her recently founded treasure hunting group. Ryuji, against his will, is forced to be Ariko's accomplice in a heist, stealing what Ariko calls a lost precious from a shady group of guys called Fang. Ariko is able to put the men to sleep with her magic cane that summons magic butterflies, long enough for the both of them to steal the large suitcase that the men were trying to deliver. However, a short car chase soon follows. During the chase, the case is shot open, revealing a blonde-haired girl who can shoot fire out of hands. Because of her help, Ariko and Ryuji are able to get away safely. Hiding out at Ryuji's home, it's revealed that the girl can only speak one word, Ryuji's name. But Ryuji claims that he's never met her before. Shortly after, it's revealed that the girl is actually a red dragon, based on the dragon scales she has on the back of one of her hands. The dragon girl is eventually given the name Rose. Although life seems well by the next morning, the group's breakfast is rudely interrupted by dragon researcher named Tokura on a helicopter. Rose, Ryuji, and Ariko are suddenly invited to the Japanese branch of the society. Tokura seems excited in researching on Rose. Ryuji remembers setting foot in this base long ago because he took his breaker test here. His level is 10, supposedly the highest among all breakers, and there are only 7 of this level 10 breakers in the world. Rose is scared to have this scientist conduct analysis on her body, but with ice cream and Ryuji around, she allows it. As they discuss things, it seems that it may be very well Ryuji's parents who discovered the origins of dragons while traveling. Ryuji seems to start remembering that he actually met an egg during his travels in his younger days when he got lost. And that girl who hatched from the egg was Rose. It didn't take long for Ryuji's mom to call him, and she's taking an instant flight back to Japan. Looks like all she's interested in the dragon and Lost Precious. Ryuji can't take any more of this and doesn't want to have anything to do with Lost Precious. He just wants to go home. Ariko tries to change his mind when the place is on full alert. Before he can leave, however, a black dragon man shows up, completely obliterating the lab's personal army. He introduces himself as Onyx and says that Rose is his fiancée, based on the necklace she's wearing. The necklace signifies a bond of engagement. Ryuji and Ariko are unable to do anything because Onyx is so powerful, so Rose leaves of her own accord in order to save Ryuji. Rose isn't still fond of Onyx even if he treats her good. Onyx wants Rose to become his wife, and that collar on her neck is their proof of engagement. Onyx realizes a transmitter on Rose's collar, so he tells his assistant Kai to prepare for the assault. Meanwhile, Ariko and Tokura try to convince Ryuji to go save Rose. Ariko brings him to a chamber to retrieve Ryuji's personal lost precious / breath. With lots of concentration, Ryuji is able to focus his power and use / breath. Ryuji and his team arrive at Onyx's tower as they begin their assault. Onyx tries to change Rose's mind that humans and dragons cannot coexist. Since she still insists on Ryuji, he will have him killed if she doesn't give up on him. Ryuji uses / breath to destroy Onyx's barrier on the tower, while Tokura's hands is busy filming with all the evidence he can get. They enter a room to see Onyx trying to marry Rose in an engagement ceremony. Onyx threatened to kill Ryuji before. Rose has no choice but to pretend that she hates Ryuji in an attempt to drive him away. But it took Ryuji 4 simple words to instantly change her mind. Now she's repetitively saying, "I love you, Ryuji." Onyx isn't pleased with the developments. To protect Ryuji, Rose's wings spread. Ryuji easily destroyed the collar with his / breath, combining with Rose's power and keeping Onyx's power at bay. This also allows Ariko to retrieve her stolen lost precious from him. Onyx bids farewell to Rose and turns into his true form, a giant black dragon. The tower is going to collapse. An insignia glows on Ryuji's hand, and combining it with Rose's mark, they did an engage to turn / breath into a more powerful weapon, and in a slice, send Onyx crashing in defeat. However, Ryuji is hit by Kai's weapon in the stomach. Rose's kiss Ryuji to heal him accurately. Her dragon breath did the curing. In the aftermath, as Rose replays that "I love you" line over and over again, Ryuji vows to become stronger, so he stays by her side. Ryuji made a promise with his friends to go to the beach, and this means he will have to leave Rose behind. That's why Rose is upset. Ariko whispers something into her ear that calms her down. So Ryuji meets up with Masato, Mao, and Misaki at the beach. Misaki finally gets the courage to confess her love. She seems to be able to do so when Ryuji is running towards her. She extends her arms, but he just ran past through her. He ran towards Rose, and Ariko is there too. They sure didn't tell him they're coming along. The artificial skin covers Rose's mark so nobody can tell she's a dragon. Back in the hotel, they receive a letter with a dragon's mark to meet. They meet Maruga, the imperial princess of the White Dragons. She has a request to recover the White Dragon's heirloom. a lost precious called Ice Rage that was stolen by humans. The current owner is George Evans, who is currently living at a nearby church. He's a dangerous guy because he belongs to a group that sees dragons as evil and will not hesitate to kill them. Ryuji decides to check things out by visiting the church. George notices Ryuji is a breaker too when he reacts to Ice Rage. George tells of a story whereby a century ago, a dragon attacked a village. A hero appeared out of nowhere and killed it before disappearing, but left behind this sword. Thus he decided to take this path when he received this sword. Then Rose comes in looking for Ryuji. Her dragon mark is hidden, so George welcomes her. But they can't leave since Rose burnt a few punks on her way here. But they want revenge. Since they do not listen George's words to leave and called him an old man, he uses Ice Rage to send them running for their lives. Ryuji and the rest go back to confront Maruka about the sword because they feel it's a little weird that their heirloom killed one of their own kind. She apologizes for not telling them some details, but still wants them to retrieve the sword. The conversation is interrupted by Mao and Misaki, but Masato jumps in and recommends taking Maruka to the festival this night. So partly it's to get Misaki closer to Ryuji too. Then they see the same punks causing a ruckus. George is there too to give them divine punishment. But the moment he sets his eyes on Maruka, he falls for her. Away from the crowd, Maruka tells Ryuji an old tale whereby a dragon fell in love with a human girl. But the villagers killed her after thinking she's conspiring with evil. When the dragon found out, he flew into rage and killed many villagers. Its kind took pity on him and consigned him to oblivion. This incident left a deep scar, and after that, no humans and dragons fell in love anymore. George then comes by and asks Maruka if she would join him for the mass. With the unexpected turn of events, Eriko plans to have Maruka date George, and during that time, they will steal Ice Rage from the church. Ryuji also has his own task and was told by Mao to personally give a puffer fish handphone strapped to Misaki. Maruka is left alone with George, and that guy would gladly do anything for her. Eriko and Ryuji drive over to the church while Rose stays behind. When Misaki runs up to Rose, she misheard her saying how she and Ryuji are engaged. At the church, the retrieval just got complicated because some guy is taking a kid hostage. Eriko's Genbukatsu causes a distraction, enough for Ryuji to knock him out. In the aftermath, George thanks him for protection the church. Ryuji asks Maruka if Ice Rage is a cursed precious since it can take control of one's mind. Maruka reveals the slain dragon is her uncle. To avoid chaos, the White Dragon King, which is also Maruka's father, took human form and killed her uncle. After that, it was taboo to speak about her uncle, but they never expected his malice would dwell in the sword that served his tombstone. Eriko also mentions that Ryuji was once affected by a cursed precious. Rose thinks it's better to tell George directly, but Ryuji thinks this can't be solved through talking. She gets upset and go out. Maruka tells how, despite her uncle's good treatment of her, her father disapproved of her uncle's enjoyment of traveling to the human world. That heirloom sword is her uncle's legacy of atrocities, but now it's only her memento of him. She wants to get it back before it goes berserk of malice. While George is reflecting his actions, Kai tells him of a certain red dragon. He is in a great dilemma and wonders why the Lord has put him in such great trial. When Ryuji realizes Rose missing, they go in search of her but were intercepted by his friends. They can no longer stand him doing his own thing and want him to join them. But he has no time for this, so he swiftly gives the strap to Misaki and rushes off. Rose confronts a very disillusioned George, and in no time, he doesn't see her as an innocent girl but an enemy of God. Ryuji and Eriko arrive in time, and it seems no words can reach him since he is taken over by the cursed precious. As they fight, the malice of the sword gets stronger and stronger. Ryuji plans to take away the sword from him. As Ryuji and Rose engage, Maruka freezes George with her ice powers, but he breaks out and walks towards her. He is about to strike her when her necklace shines, making him recognize her. Ryuji fires his slash breath to release George and break the sword. Maruka felt her uncle was touched by the person he once loved and was released from his hatred. George couldn't believe that the dragons he hates the most were the ones that saved him. Next day, before Maruka leaves, she gives Ryuji a kiss as a blessing. Rose is not happy and pestering him for marriage. Misaki fears that may be the true meaning of engagement for them. Ryuji attends a party organized by Society for Lost Precious Collectors. He sees a girl trying to rescue a kitten from a tree. They fall and Ryuji tries to catch her. She isn't amused of his interference and goes off. Ryuji returns to Eriko and Rose and is introduced to some of the famous Lost Precious collectors, including a newcomer Seiki. Noticing that Eriko have only half of the Lost Precious earring, he offers to find the other half. Ryuji flips through a magazine and sees a shadowy picture of Odd Eye, a criminal who only steals a class Lost Precious. Ryuji also meets that cat saver girl at the party, but she's not too thrilled to see him. Suddenly the place is under siege. It is Odd Eyes and she is making her steal. The security is trying to catch her. Ryuji recognizes Odd Eyes as that girl he just met when they come face to face. A stray knife throw is about to hit an elderly woman, but Odd Eyes uses her body to protect her. Ryuji protects Odd Eyes from an attack, so the security head is surprised that he is protecting a criminal. The lights go out and this allows Odd Eyes to escape. After that night, everyone is tired. But Ryuji wakes up in the middle of the night to see Odd Eyes. She tried to steal Ariko's earring, but end up tied to Ryuji. Better release them fast before Rose burns them alive for Ryuji's unfaithfulness. However, they are still bounded by the rope. They'll have to wait a day to come off. Ariko does a tickling interrogation to find out more about her. Her master calls her Ai and takes care of her after her parents abandoned her. The tattoo on her body proves that she is a werebeast. One of Ariko's liquor spilled, so they going to bath. Then after that, more interrogation. Rose takes a liking for Ai because of her fluffy tail. Ryuji thinks it's best for Ai to leave her master, but she is adamant in supporting his ideals. Ariko and Tokura discuss that some old guy named Furumori, a level 9 breaker, and lost precious researcher may be Ai master, since his data is highly classified in society. Some incident many years ago, where he disappeared with a large number of lost precious after stumbling upon some forbidden research. Tokura will continue to do more investigation. However, Ai disagrees that Furumori is her master, since her master is young. Ai believes his ideals that lost precious shouldn't be monopolized by a group of people. Seiki comes by and seems to have found the other half of Ariko's earring. But the box is a trap as the gas sends Ariko and Rose unconscious. Ai runs with Ryuji over to her master. Ryuji wonders if he is Furumori, but Seiki says he has long abandoned that name and sprays gas to knock him out. Ryuji is thrown into Seiki's dungeon at his hideout. After talking with Seiki, Ai gets this urge to put on the pair of lost precious earrings. The power of this artifact is that it allows the user to hear the true thoughts of the speaker. So as she continues to chat with her master, she realizes the discrepancy in his words and heart. Ai is acting so strange that can tell she may have put on the earrings. Meanwhile, Ariko and Rose are racing against time to Seiki's lab as Tokura confirms the identical iris match that Furumori is indeed. Ai frees Ryuji but wonders why she can't hear his thoughts. She breaks down upon knowing she has nothing left. Ryuji offers her to live at his place. Ai hears his true thoughts, so they make an escape. Seiki is not going to make it easy, though. Seiki reveals more truth, that she was originally a human to begin with. He takes off his shirt and sees several lost precious marks embedded onto his body. He has fused with 5 of them. Ryuji and Ai run away from Seiki, but his variety of powers have them cornered. Seiki has this thought of fusing with Ai, a result that nobody would know how it would turn out. It's now Ryuji's turn to give his lecture about ruining lives of others. He gets his determination to protect others as a breaker. Ariko and Rose arrive, and Rose uses his wing to fly to give Ryuji breath. They engage to power up and take on Seiki's various powers. He uses a darkness power that completely paralyzes Ryuji. Rose's resolve to protect Ryuji burnt the darkness away and destroys almost all of Seiki's embedded lost precious. Ai is in a way still loyal to her master, but doesn't feel that he has done anything that needs repenting or sinful. He mentions about people's feelings being contained in lost precious, and there is no way for them to move on to the next world as they're being used. How would you feel like if you were trapped in eternal darkness? That is what he had felt from the lost precious he had stolen. Seiki uses his final lost precious to turn into dust. Ai wants to know what he really thinks of her, so in his final truthful words, he never loved her once and was just her pet. In the aftermath, Tokura's research has Ai having a glimmer of hope. Seems one of the collectors at the party had a daughter who was abducted many years ago. Ai seems to fit all that description, and she looks forward to be reunited with her family. And Ryuji is serious in wanting to register himself as a level 10 breaker with society because he wants to learn more about lost precious and this world. Now, Rose attends Ryuji's school while pretending as an American exchange student who is a genius, so much so she skips grades. When Rose is asked to introduce herself on what she likes, she mentions 2 things: ice cream and Ryuji. Later, a foreign woman shows up in his classroom and fires an auto-targeting missile at Ryuji. The missile follows him wherever he goes, and at a safe place he slices it with his breath. It turns out that her name is Bianca, and Ariko knows her from way back then. She is sent here to officially test Ryuji and take samples of his data as part of the process of his registration into society. Ariko has a little fear in her because she remembers the same treatment she got when she first registered at society. So Bianca wants to measure Ryuji's physiques. Rose wants to do it. Till Masato barges in because of another beautiful babe arriving on scene. Ryuji prefers to have this guy take his measurement. Bianca proceeds to test Ryuji through various assessments. There is one disturbing scene whereby Ryuji got his ribs X-ray. Misaki took a shot of it and is breathing so hard. Then Bianca continues with her assessment with Ryuji's history to see if his breaker ability is inherited or not. Mao realizes Ryuji's birthday is tomorrow, and while Bianca got distracted, she peeks into her computer to see his likes. Frogs. But it was good enough hint to let Misaki know what to get for his present. Then to test Ryuji's breaker power level, she has him fight against a giant Neo Golem. As Ryuji takes it on, Bianca realizes the limiter remote is not working, which is supposed to shut it down immediately. Bianca suits up and is going to shut it down manually. Bianca has a flashback of some experiment gone wrong. The person who saved her was no other than Ryuji's father. Rose disregards Ryuji's advice to spread her wings or breathe fire to go save him. Then they engage and his slash breath was enough to take down Neo Golem. Bianca is ecstatic that his breaker's power is set at 5,800, which is the highest ever recorded in history. Next day, Bianca seems to have moved next door to Ryuji because there are more things she wants to research personally. And when Misaki manages to give Ryuji his present, he freaks out upon seeing frog designs on the towel. Ai and Misaki running into each other at Ryuji's place. Meanwhile, there is a large delivery for Eriko, which is a lost precious, sent to her for appraise it. They unwrap it and it turns out to be a large painting of an American town. Misaki and Ai both brought cookies to Ryuji, which they decide to eat together. While they eat the cookies, Misaki tells a lie, which the painting responds by having liar. They all go to check the painting. When Ryuji spots a person's shadow on one of the painting's windows, the painting suddenly starts to emit a lot of light, and it sucks all 4 girls in. However, Ryuji is unable to enter it. The girls find themselves in the town the painting depicted and it's deserted. The scene is very familiar to Eriko when she mentions that Rose remembers the movie they have seen the other day. It was about a bunch of girls in a deserted American city pursued around by a guy with an axe. Just as she tells this, a guy with an axe appears at the gas station just on the opposite side of the street. Both Ai and Rose fight him, but he seems not to take neither kicks nor flame. They start to flee, and not long after they get into a big mansion. The axe guy tries to break the door on them a few times, but gives up soon. Ryuji watches all this from his apartment on the painting. He tries to hurt the axe guy by stabbing him on the painting with his slash breath, which though seems to stop the guy for a moment. Bianca appears in Ryuji's apartment and offers Ryuji her help. The girls in the mansion find a staircase that leads to the basement, which they want to check out. Eriko even tells them that going into the basement in such a horror genre movie is never a good idea, but they still go check it out for clues. What they find is a bedroom with lots of photos of different girls. Each and every photo has a big liar written on it. They check the room for clues when in a big mirror, in front of which Misaki is suddenly shows the axe guy. Misaki finds herself in an even more creepy place with the photos of girls with liar. The mirror is here too, with the axe guy in it. He asks Misaki what her most precious memory is. She tells a lie, but before anything would happen to her, the other girls in the room break the mirror apart, thus saving Misaki from becoming one of the pictures. She is not saved for long though. The scene alters and now all 4 of them are in the previous odd place, with a mirror for every one of them. They are all asked really personal questions like, what do you regret the most? Who do you love the most? Eriko realizes that to escape the situation they all have to answer honestly. Eriko, Rose, Ai and Misaki answer honestly. They get out of the odd place, back into the mansion, but the axe guy is there too and he does not accept their answers, for all women are liars. They escape from the mansion. Bianca tells Ryuji that the painting will only suck women and Ryuji might have a chance as she opens it up for him. The plan works and the girls fall back into Ryuji's apartment. After the happy ending, Eriko mentions that in horror movies this is the time for the disturbing last pictures. Ryuji and his friends are on a picnic. Suddenly, Eriko and Ryuji see a girl on dragon wings appears in the lake, introducing herself as Safi and declares that she came to avenge Onyx. However, Safi uses his power on Ryuji and Eriko, but it fails, but it also shows that her power is over water. She retreats when Eriko unleashes her Genbukatsu on her. In the next conversation, Eriko accidentally slips that Rose is a dragon. Misaki heard most of their secrets without being surprised too much. Ai tells her too that she's partially a werebeast. The next scene is at Onyx's place. Onyx informs Kai to tell Safi not to do anything. This infuriates Safi. She defends herself that she's not a kid anymore, since she had done the coming-of-age ritual with Onyx. Rose is in the school without Ryuji, because Ryuji had to go to an event hosted by the Society for Collectors and Breakers. When Rose leaves for school, as he meets Safi again. Safi tried to attack Rose with a sphere of ball, but it fails. Safi got wet using her powers. Rose invites her to Ryuji's place to dry her clothes. They chat over dragons, but neither of them knows much or met many of their kind. Safi tells Rose that her relationship to Ryuji is very childish, and he doesn't look at Rose as a girl. She explains the coming-of-age ritual to Rose, which is a kiss on the dragon scales. Just when Safi leaves Ryuji's place, Eriko and Ryuji arrives. Rose tells Ryuji that she's like him to make her an adult. That obviously comes quite a shock to Ryuji. Rose explains what the ritual is and Ryuji agrees to do it. Eriko even takes a camera for the occasion. When Ryuji kissed Rose on the scale, Rose became unwell right away. Suddenly she feels Ryuji's touch very hot and cannot bear Ryuji to touch her. Eriko takes her into the next room, explains her that she probably just started to feel for Ryuji like a member of the opposite sex. In the school, Rose asks for advice from Mao and Misaki about love. The reason Rose seeks Misaki's advice is because she knows Misaki likes Ryuji too. Meanwhile, Ryuji seeks advice from Masato. Masato is happy despite being surrounded by pretty girls. Unfortunately, Masato has no real experience. Safi goes back to Ryuji's home but was captured by Eriko and Bianca. During PE, Rose collapses after a high jump. He rushes back to the lab to get his results. Tokura doesn't know if the medication he'll give will bring harm or good. Plus, Safi notes this didn't happen to her. Kai then enters with a fake pass and requests that Ryuji come by herself so they can communicate with Onyx through a lost precious communicator. Onyx tells Ryuji is the reason why Rose is unconscious. Onyx went to do some research and learnt why he was able to use /breath or engage with Rose. He is no ordinary human and not by the fact he is a level 10 breaker. He points out his name, which means dragon user, and he himself is a lost precious, something that is called dragon crisis. He believes that Rose had depths fear for him since, to the dragons, he is an enemy who has the power to deny them their freedom or destroy them. As long as he remains by Rose's side, she will become weaker, so the only cure is to hand her over to Kai and she will get treated in his place. Ryuji doesn't believe him. Onyx says that Ryuji and Rose cannot coexist, or more precisely, that dragons and humans can never coexist. This matter concerns Rose's life, so he can't be thinking about being selfish. Ryuji reluctantly agrees to give Rose over, but he must do so voluntarily or else he will never leave her. In an odd situation, Ryuji threatens the scientist to release Rose as Kai takes her into her car. Kai tells Ryuji goodbye on behalf of Rose while the guards arrest Ryuji. Ryuji becomes depressed as Ai pays him a visit at school. Mao wants Misaki to confess quickly because if not, some girl will take him away in Rose's absence. But Misaki doesn't feel right. Later she sees him at the rooftop. Ryuji explains that Rose has returned living with her friends since the environment here is not suitable. There's nothing he can do and it's the best thing for Rose. Misaki says that she has always been watching him. She noticed he has changed ever since Eriko and Rose came into his life. Ryuji goes back to see Maruga waiting outside. Rose wakes up with Safi by her side. She seems to not remember who she is. They will have her flown back to Albania tomorrow before her memory recovers. Maruga tells Ryuji and Eriko about Onyx's research on red dragons. Ryuji doesn't want to hear any more of this and gives an excuse to go out to buy ingredients for dinner. Maruga goes after him but he won't listen. Maruga slipped and twisted her ankle and took a seat, continuing their conversation. Ryuji feels guilty for hurting Rose and couldn't do anything for her. Maruga believes he is using his feelings to avoid being with Rose. About Rose's fever, it could be just an emotional change within her body affecting her health. Just nothing but a simple change in emotions. She also believes he and Rose could present a new possibility for a relationship between humans and dragons. So Ryuji has to decide whether to become an enemy of the dragons or a friend. When they return home, Safi has left a message on their window of Rose's departure. So Ryuji skips school the next day to rescue Rose. Kai and her men are leaving via private jet by Fang. Inside the plane, Rose still doesn't have her memories back. Safi feels pity for her and Onyx was there. As the plane starts to go, Maruga stands in its path. She turns the runway into ice, now the plane's slipping. Tokura and Society have also hijacked the airport to help. As the security vehicles are driving between the slipping planes, Onyx knows they're not going down without a fight, so it's time to show some of his powers. Ai also joins upon learning from Misaki. Onyx was present when Eriko drove her vehicle off the top of the plane, but Eriko managed to get rid of him by using his Genbukatsu and get on the top of the plane to enter. Safi tries to make Rose remember her memories with ice cream. Then Rose realizes Ryuji and his friends are in the room. Though happy to see him, she still feels scared of growing up as she wants to stay a kid and be with Ryuji. However, Ryuji says that everyone have to grow up eventually and decide their own things. At first he thought of protecting her and ended up treating her like a kid. Now he wants her to be an adult because he too wants to grow up with her. Rose hugs him when he said the I love you. But it's not over yet. Onyx in his dragon form starts lifting the plane. But he is hit by a lost precious weapon, supposedly thrown by Ryuji's parents. Ryuji and Rose do love engage, an ordinary kiss, because the power of their love is so great and overflowing that it causes Onyx to disintegrate. Even he is mesmerized by this awesome power. In the final scene of the episode, Rose and Ryuji are holding hands. Thank you for watching till the end. Please don't forget to subscribe.